and this morning, SNAP benefits were not issued to about 42 million Americans. That's 1 in 8 Americans who rely on government food programs to eat. Chances are that includes someone you know. Last night, 2 judges in separate rulings ordered the White House to pay for SNAP benefits out of emergency funds. The Trump administration has until Monday to respond. But even if the president complies, Americans who depend on SNAP won't see those funds right away. States need time to restart the system and to get that money moving again. And here's a quick fact check on who uses SNAP. Most recipients are white, making up about 44% of the program. Black Americans make up about 27% and Hispanic Americans 22%. Nearly 40% of everyone receiving SNAP benefits are children. That's roughly 1 in 4 children in the U.S. Take a listen what people are saying about losing these benefits.
I'm only down to 1 pack of chicken, and I don't even know what I'm going to do for the next month. My son won't have his milk, and we won't have food. I'll go without eating it or anything as long as my kids eat.
When you talk about your grandson, you got a little bit emotional.
That's my boy. That's my boy. And he's a kid. He doesn't deserve it. He shouldn't have to wake up and my daughter tell him he can't eat.
Joining us now, Dr. Melony Samuels, founder and executive director of the Campaign Against Hunger, a food aid program based in New York City, and former New York Congressman Mondaire Jones. Okay, Dr. Samuels, now is really worst case scenario, the benefits are done. So how long, even if Congress immediately restored aid and they came together on Monday and they did a stopgap and it was best case scenario, how long would it still take for food to get back to the people who need it in this country?
I think we're looking at about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks for everything to go back to normal. This is a difficult time.
So every day the clock ticks, it delays it yet another few weeks.
Another few weeks, but we have to remember quite a few stomachs. Children are hungry. And as you said, the statistics speak for itself. There are too many children that are hungry. We can't wait another day.
Can you walk us through what are the long-term consequences? This is not just a 2-week problem, right? I imagine that families that are going through this insecurity, who are worried about whether they can feed their children, this has longer-term scarring effects.
Yes, it does. We have to think of the health of families also, the economy in our neighborhood. But even on today, I had an opportunity to speak to a woman that was in a wheelchair. And she said, this morning, I looked in my account and I did not see my SNAP benefit. And I look again. And I said to her, how much were you expecting? She said, a little over $200. That's why I have been here so early this morning in a wheelchair waiting. So the impact and the hurt and the pain, the fear, the anxiety, that's all we're seeing on the ground right now. And it's depressing and it's hard. And I say this is unprecedented.
Mondaire, can I ask you about some of the politicking we've seen around this, in particular right-wing figures who have shared, some of them AI-generated and completely inaccurate and misleading videos suggesting the classic black welfare queen trope. Elise shared some of the statistics that the majority of people who benefit from this are white, although black and Hispanic families, many of them, of course, do depend on these resources. But what do you make of the way that they have spoken about the people who depend on these, the images, the kind of rhetoric they've shared in recent days, while also at the same time telling us that they're any minute going to come back to the table and they're waiting on Democrats to figure this out with them, while speaking about the recipients in this way?
I have so many thoughts on this. It is part of a trend, a theme of Republicans in elected office dividing people along racial lines. When we know the truth, which is that working class white people are the main beneficiaries of food stamps in this country. I mean, we have a broken economy. It's unfortunate, obviously, that the government has to subsidize the cost of living because Republicans are too busy giving tax breaks to billionaires like Elon Musk when they could be building an economy that works for everybody. But here we are. And, you know, we're in this situation because Donald Trump refused to use contingency funds and other spare funds to be able to distribute these, these incredibly important benefits to people.
He had options.
He had options.
And he did
waited
during the last shutdown.
Yeah, and waited to be ordered by not one, but two different federal judges to do what the law requires. And we know he doesn't care about this because earlier this year he signed the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, which cut SNAP funding by $186 billion over the next decade. I grew up on this program. I grew up on food stamps. And I dare say that in addition to it being transformative for my family, my mother, a single mom who raised me, you know, it helped me go on to make it to the United States Congress. You could draw a direct line between that important, critical, benefit in my formative years to being able to live a productive life. And it's just so shameful, but it's unsurprising. And of course, the reason the government is shut down, it's important to remind people, is because Republicans like Donald Trump and members of Congress like Mike Johnson don't want to continue these Obamacare subsidies. And so they would like for the health care premiums then, when these subsidies expire, to double and in many instances triple. So they're pitting basically SNAP benefits, food assistance, against life-saving medical care for millions of Americans, including working class white people, the base of the Republican Party.
So, Dr. Samuels, in some ways it's been very heartening, I think, to see these mutual aid groups, organizations like yours, step up and try to fill in the gap. Food banks, other kinds of, examples of neighbors helping neighbors and helping out their community. And honestly, it's nice to see that there's still those connections amongst people and not only rage, although the rage I think is warranted. I guess my question is, what happens again in the long run, given, as Mandir pointed out, this is not just a temporary challenge because of a funding lapse. There are these larger cuts to these nutrition programs. Is there a way for private organizations like yours to fill in the gap, to replace those lost benefits?
As much as we work so hard, and we serve about 12,000 families per week, there is no way. $186 billion cut from SNAP is going to impact no matter which way you take it. When you look at organizations, the Food Bank, City Harvest, and others, the Campaign Against Hunger, and all the robust programs, even with the support that we've been getting, and I want to just say that our governor has been supportive, right? And we have seen changes. We appreciate even the city. All the legislators are busy working to make sure that their communities are fed. But without SNAP, which is the first line of defense when it comes to hunger, we will not make it. Too many families will go hungry. And if they go hungry, it's going to impact schools. It's going to impact even, I will just say this, we have had calls from precincts asking us, what can you do to ensure that the looting will not start? Because they're expecting it.
Can I just add to that really important point? So I was reading something earlier today about how the Texas Diaper Bank sent out an email saying that because food stamps don't cover diapers, people who had budgeted, in anticipation of those food stamps have now had to make a choice. They're shifting funds that were for diapers over to food, and now people are going without diapers in this country. Like, this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. And you can make the same sort of connection between the cost of housing and other things. You are having to choose between necessities because these guys would rather have Great Gatsby-themed, parties at the White House with their billionaire friends than focus on actually helping the American people, which is what they ran on when they said they were focused on affordability.
Do you think that's actually hitting the average voter right now, the split screen that you just described there? And also the connections between, you just talked about this health care possibly going off a cliff, food, the connection to crime when people are going without. All of these things are interconnected. We know that as journalists, as public advocates, you see it in a day-to-day. But do you think people are connecting the dots on their own as they're seeing all this unfold?
Not enough, which is why, by the way, this is an important discussion that you're having on national television right now. I do think that in order to make it hit, more and more people are going to have to just sort of have these conversations. And unfortunately, in order to make a real difference at the ballot box, people are going to have to feel something like the pain that this president is working to inflict on the American people because he just does not care about them.
Dr. Samuels, really quickly, could you just tell us about your organization, where people can go to support your efforts to feed hungry New Yorkers and maybe another national organization you'd like to point our viewers to?
Sure. The Campaign Against Hunger, anyone can go to tcahnyc.org. That's TCAHNYC.org, and there they'll get all the information needed. And I would say to them they can also support City Harvest.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Melony Samuels and Mondaire Jones, thank you again for joining us.